You have a huge fascination for sports.
Yeah.
So can you talk to us about childhood? What was childhood like for you? The brothers running around. What did you see from mum and dad? What were some of the principles they instilled in you for you to be free in that?
Yeah, look, I think mum was artistic. She was a sporty girl as well, but I don't think that was a priority for her. But dad was a good sportsman. He went on and played, country New South Wales rugby, good squash player, and cricket player. So he enjoyed sport. So, again, when we were living in country towns, we were always part of the local rugby league team or, tennis team or whatever it was going on at the time. So that was just part of what you did. I think when I went to the Southport school, with similar to Scots, a very structured sporting program, good coaches, I realised, I was pretty good at some sports. I didn't have the advantage of my brothers. My two brothers are still like 6'1", 6'2". I'm like 5'9". So I was the shorter guy, but I found because of that, I probably had to work pretty hard. You have to be fitter, be stronger, put the training in. And I think that work ethic was something, again, my father instilled in me, that you can have natural talent, but you've got to put the hard yards in basically to perform. So I remember as a rugby player, 2 years, first 15, I went on and played, Queensland under-21s and first grade rugby in Brisbane and rode a bit as well after school. But I can remember coming home from school and just, throwing rugby balls, 1,000 times against a spot on the wall just to get my left and right hand pass. I was a scrum half, get a left hand and right hand pass right. So, it was one of those examples. You read books about people who talk about, the 5,000 hours they put into perfecting their table tennis shot or their tennis serve. And I think we shouldn't underestimate that. Your brain has this incredible ability to wire itself to your physical behaviours. And I think, repetitive skill development in sports, something that anyone can do. You don't have to be a super talent, but if you can throw a ball, kick a ball, get your balance running right. You don't have to be the fastest or the biggest. You just got to know you can do what you've practiced when the moments come. So I think I was one of those players probably.
And that's why I like to really go back to the past, is because that's so powerful. I think of myself as an athlete as well, kicking the same thing in football, kicking that ball against the wall, and then you're trying different touches, different foot. I made a mistake, I'm making a mistake, let me try again, let me do it. And that repetition, and you fall into this state of presence, like bliss in the unknown. But what I noticed is because of that, you've been able to build those principles and philosophies. Like, it's compulsory to go to play sport here.
Yes,
right? That's powerful. Not many people oversee that, but it's those principles that you're talking about now that relate. I'm in the business field. This is easy for me. I've come from playing football. I still do. I come from that thing. So when I come and do this, I'm waking up 4 or 5 in the morning and I'm still working. So like those principles that you've laid and from what you experienced, powerful. So what were some of the things Dad taught you?
Dad was always a very ethical and moral man. Like, that was really important to him.
Hi all, this is Nish, Director, CEO and lawyer from Professional Visa and Education Services. This is a quick review on the job that the Rubasha family has been doing with us, and we've been working together for almost a year now. I've been receiving a lot of support from himself, just the dedication and commitment for him to come to our office once a week, every week, and just spending that time understanding the nature of the business we do, also engage with our team members, and also trying to understand the service and the product that we provide to our consumer. I think that has been the great value add for us whenever we're making a video, because it's not about just making a content, but it's about making a content by the content creator, which is more connected to their client. You have done the good job, mate, and keep up the good work.
He came through his high school years here at Scots in the late 40s, mid to late 40s, which were the Second World War years, and they were not allowed to put their hands in their pocket. They were not allowed to to swear. They were not allowed to be disrespectful to anyone or anyone's property. They didn't steal. They were just drilled on that. And I guess there was a dominant culture where that was quite important as well. So for us, that was really important. I mean, there's one standout moment that my brothers and I often laugh about, and this is a story worth telling, I think, is that, you know, we lived out of town. It was probably a 35-minute, 40-minute drive to go into town. So I think after a football game one day, Dad had picked us up and we stopped at the little general store, and they had these jars full of lollies, you know, and we'd go in and, you know, back then you'd have 10 cents, you know, or 5 cents, and you'd buy 5 cents worth of lollies. And we'd gone in and given them a little bit of money, and they'd given us change back and given us the lollies. And when we got in the car, we'd driven for 10 or 15 minutes, and my older brother, Craig, said, "Oh, Dad, they've given us more change back than they should have." And he said, "Oh, that's great." And Dad said, No, that's stealing. That doesn't belong to you, that belongs to them." And he turned around and drove back and made us go into the store and say, "I think you've given us too much change here." And so fast forward, when I was 19 and my brothers were like 22, 21, and we were backpacking in Europe, and we had one traveller's check left, right? We were stuck in Europe. We'd been really low on money. We were washing dishes in restaurants to get our meals every night. And I went into a bank in Rome and I cashed this last traveller's check, and it was $100 check. And the teller, when I got outside and counted the lira, he'd given me $1,000. So we sat down on a fountain and said, this could be a miracle from God. And we all said, what would Mum and Dad tell us to do? And so we agreed. We remember that story of the lollies, and we said, let's go back in and tell them they've overpaid us. And we went back in and said he'd given us too much money. And then we pretty much struggled on $100 for the next week and tried to survive. But, you know, the little seeds like that, as you were saying before about legacy, they're the things when the pressure comes on, the temptation, the challenge, you know, to take shortcuts and things like that. Those values kind of get embedded in your heart and mind. I think they're really important. I think, you know, mums and dads should never underestimate the significance of just having a few really clear, simple values that you can impart to your child, and, you know, to help them to be ethical. So I think, you know, Mum and Dad particularly, is really strong on that. And, you know, I'd like to think we're all pretty good men, you know, we're good dads, we've got good wives and kids, and, you know, family was really important to us. And that was something that Mum and Dad really emphasised, that, you know, family is the first structure that you protect and look after. And fortunately, we've all been able to go through and have, you know, really happy married lives and grandkids and great-grandkids and things like that. So it's been nice.
If you really enjoyed this video, make sure to click here, and I'm sure you're going to love that one.